In this week's round of Gods vs. Gays, it's Indiana's turn. Let's get to it. Hey my little flavors, welcome to this week's episode of the Motley Stew Show. My name is Luke Goldstein, I'm your host, and we're going to talk about Indiana. On March 26th, Thursday before last, Governor Mike Pence of Indiana signed a bill into law called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Now in wonkier political circles, this is known as the RFRA. Now there was a RFRA, a federal one, signed into law the first year of Bill Clinton's term, and it's also in 19 other states. Now this is repeatedly pointed out by people who are supporting the Indiana law, but they fail to point out the key differences between the Indiana version and the national federal version and all the other states. And that main difference is the original versions needed the government or the state to be a party to the burdening of someone's religious beliefs. So the government had to be doing something to a citizen that was causing them to feel substantially burdened against something they religiously believed was wrong. But Indiana's law was more broad, because it said the government didn't need to be a party to the case, meaning this could be between private individuals, which immediately led gay rights supporters to point out this would allow any business to deny service to a gay couple because it violated their religious beliefs. And while proponents of the law said that was all hypothetical and no one in Indiana would do that, it was immediately done. Now, even if a municipality or a city had laws on the books protecting LGBT citizens, this new RFRA would actually supersede that. So that would impact cities like Indianapolis, Evansville, Bloomington, and South Bend, which combined counts for 1.2 million people. And in 2012, the estimated gay population in that state was 3.7, meaning out of that 1.2 million people, we're talking about 45,000 people, approximately, that would immediately lose their rights, lose their protections. Now, before Governor Pence signed this into law, he said that all the fear-mongering about this being an anti-gay law was completely fabricated, and if he felt that it was going to be used in a discriminatory fashion against gays and lesbians in his state, he never would have signed it. Yet, the proponents of this law, people who actually helped draft it, openly told people that that was what they were doing. Those people specifically pointed to a recent case about a wedding photographer who refused to take pictures at a gay wedding, and when she took her case to court, she lost. They wanted to make sure that wouldn't happen in Indiana, that a gay couple could never win against a private enterprise, a private business that did not want to participate in a gay wedding. Now, participating in a wedding is one thing, and that can be debated, but the way they wrote the law was actually so broad that they could just deny service altogether. If a gay couple went into a restaurant, that restaurant could say, "Get out of my restaurant because I don't like gay people." One of the main proponents of this law, a man named Micah Clark from the American Family Association, openly told a paper in Indianapolis that he wanted to make sure that businesses could protect themselves from having to take part in gay marriages and adoption agencies from having to place children with gay couples. Now let me rephrase that. The adoption agencies in Indiana would be allowed to deny orphaned children placement in a happy, healthy, loving, and caring home because the prospective couple was gay. Now, many of the opponents of laws like this say that they are licensed to discriminate, while many of the proponents of these laws say they are religious protection laws. But yet, while protecting a religious bias against gay people, you are then discriminating against people based on a subject of their birth. Which leads me to one of the most infuriatingly simple points in this debate: whether or not being gay is a choice. Now, the folks that are working their hardest to deny gay people rights throughout the country have to hold on to the idea that being gay is a choice, because then when the discrimination happens against those people, the opponents can fall back and say, "You chose to be gay, you chose the discrimination to it." Now, while it's still scientifically being discussed whether being gay is actually a choice or a factor of birth, it is an undeniable fact. Religion is a choice. So I still have a hard time understanding why your choice of religion magically supersedes what could be a factor of somebody's birth, like race, like gender, like disability. Now, when Governor Pence was actually looking to sign this bill, there was immediately a bunch of backlash against it. There were tons of people telling him, "Do not sign this bill." And it wasn't just proponents of gay rights, it was companies. It was massively large companies, both in and out of his state. While yes, they were fans of gay rights, they were just saying this is plain bad for business. Now, some of these companies you may expect to come out against this law, like Apple, which is run by Tim Cook, who has recently come out as gay, but also huge corporate companies like Salesforce, Angie's List, Eli Lilly and Company, the Chamber of Commerce, the NCAA, NASCAR, and even Walmart. Yeah, Walmart came out against this. If you've got Walmart coming out against your bill because they feel it infringes on people's rights, you know you're in the wrong. Oh yeah, the White House also came out against it. But seriously, Walmart. And all of those examples plus others actually is a perfect representation of what many on the right always call for: free market controls. This is not the government reaching in and telling Indiana they can't pass this law. These are privately owned companies saying we are doing what privately owned companies can do, making their own personal choices, which have significant monetary impact on Indiana. We're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue if these companies leave Indiana, refuse to bring their conventions like Gen Con and many others to that state. Angie's List was planning a $40 million expansion of their company there, and they put that on hold. Now, if you think all of these companies are just caving because they're worried about the money and the bad press, there were also many religious groups. There are many religious denominations that have become widely accepting of gays and the LGBT community. A group in Indiana called the Disciples of Christ came out directly against this. Now, of course, because of all this negative backlash, many politicians, most of them Republican, came out in support of the bill, trying to give a backstop to Governor Pence, who was immediately backpedaling. Senator Tom Cotton, who I recently mentioned in a previous video, decided to follow up his previous idiocy by coming out and saying this.
The Religious Freedom Restoration Act was signed by former Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton in his first year in office. These laws are modeled on that, and a lot of the concerns about discrimination haven't been borne to bear over the last 20 years. But I also think it's important that we have a sense of perspective about our priorities. In Iran, they hang you for the crime of being gay. They're currently imprisoning an American preacher for spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ in Iran. We should focus on the most important priorities that our country faces right now. And I would say that a nuclear-armed Iran, given the threat that it poses to the region and to our interest in the region and American citizens, is the most important thing that we'd be focused on.
All right, so did Governor Hutchinson...
Oh, I agree. A nuclear-armed Iran is a bad thing, but I don't see how discriminating against gays in Indiana is going to stop that from happening. But I guess in his eyes, we can only focus on so much at once. Now, while this was happening in Indiana, of course, the local news was talking pretty much about nothing else. And in times like this, the local news does what they do best. They look for juice. They look for salacious stories, and they look for something to get a rise out of their viewers. Which in this case means going to find someone who will get on camera saying, yes, I want to discriminate against gay people. And it really wasn't hard for them to find a place that they could cherry pick for exactly this purpose. A family-owned restaurant in Indiana called Memories Pizza got picked to go on the local news, and they were interviewed and asked what they thought about this law. Now, of course, they came out saying this law was great, this is exactly something that they would support, and they were really happy about it. Because this pizzeria, if you walked in, you immediately knew they were devout Christians. There were crosses and Jesus pictures everywhere. There were flyers saying that if you wanted them to pray for you about something specific, they would pray for you. So they might as well have had a siren on top of their pizzeria saying, we love Jesus, lunch special on Tuesdays. Now, the daughter in this family said on camera that if a gay couple came in asking them to cater their wedding, they would use this law as a defense and say, no, we don't want to participate in your gay wedding because it's against our religious beliefs. This also caused pretty much everyone in the country to go, what gay couple in the world is going to ask a local pizzeria to cater their wedding? Even a straight couple, but I digress. It only got worse though when the father, the main owner of the pizzeria, got on camera and said that being gay was a choice and he chooses to be straight, and why should he be beaten over the head by someone else's choice to have that lifestyle? Again, going back to the choice versus born trait argument. And after that report went out, the video went viral and things got stupid really fast. Now look, everybody has a right to their opinion and everybody has a right to their beliefs. And the internet is a wide open place that allows all of that to be said openly, loudly, with all caps. But it's also a very reactionary place. So the minute that this went out, People hunted this restaurant down online to find out where they were, find their website. They crashed it, they hacked it, they went to their Yelp page and absolutely destroyed their ratings with so many negative reviews, so it instantly went down to a 1-star review. And according to the family, they got so many phone calls and even death threats that they closed down the pizzeria temporarily. Now, I might think what they believe and what they stood for and how they wanted to discriminate against gay people is absolutely ridiculous and offensive on its face, but they have the right to say that. They have the right to feel that way. They might not have the legal right to do it, but they have the right to have that opinion. And they shouldn't have their business absolutely destroyed, especially by a majority of people that don't live in Indiana and would never have gone there in the first place. And when they did that, what they caused was an immediate image of this family becoming a martyr for religious freedom. The very next day, that story about them closing down their store went up on Glenn Beck's network, The Blaze, and got a huge push from them and Fox News and pretty much every evangelical church in the country. There was a GoFundMe page set up so that they could hopefully get their bills paid for while their restaurant was closed. Now, I don't know how much that restaurant cost, but at the time of this filming, that GoFundMe page has raised over $850,000. By the time this is said and done, that family, that middle-class family that owned that restaurant, will be millionaires because the pro-gay rights people attacked them so viciously that it caused the anti-gay rights people to give them tons of money. Now, on the other side, YouTube media mastermind Philip DeFranco went on his show and told everyone this story and said he was so offended by the idea of people using religion over and over to discriminate against gay people, he was going to create his own religion, Philip DeFranco's Big Gay Religion. And he was going to set up a GoFundMe page to help fund that religion. Now, he said everything that went into that GoFundMe page was going to be donated to charities that help protect LGBT rights. He also said if that GoFundMe page reached $10,000, he was going to donate $10,000 of his own money. Not money from SourceFed, not money from his other businesses, but his own personal money. Now, at the time of this filming, there's about $14,500 in that GoFundMe page. Far less than what Memories Pizza is getting. Now, does that mean that there's an inordinate number of people who actually hate gay people more than there are people that like gay people or feel that they should have their rights? Not really. What we're looking at is a major network push on one side, and the other side, a really localized YouTube community. But I will say this, I looked at both pages, and on the Memories Pizza GoFundMe page, I scrolled through dozens and dozens of donations, every one of them anonymous. While on DeFranco's page, a wide majority of them, proud to put their names to their beliefs. Just saying. Now, by this past Thursday, Governor Mike Pence had to backtrack because the overwhelming amount of attention it was getting and the amount of companies that were threatening to pull their money out of that state. It was purely a financial decision, and you knew he didn't want to make it. He was immediately going to piss off the religious right that helped him create this bill and helped them vote it in. But he did what he had to do for the money. He rectified the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in Indiana to explicitly state that it could not be used by a business or an individual to deny services against someone based on their sexual orientation, along with all the other usual things like race and gender and disability and so forth. Immediately, the evangelicals that supported it were disgusted, and they say again that this is an attack on religion, instead of actually just enshrining the rights of all people. So what are your thoughts? Should Governor Pence have signed it in the first place? Do you believe in that Religious Freedom Restoration Act the way that he wrote it? Or what about his about face? What about the fact that the people who own Memories Pizza are about to become millionaires? Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So thanks again for watching another episode of the Motley Stew Show. You can like, favorite, share, subscribe. All those options are yours for the taking right down below. Stay tuned for next week. And as always, here's a little bit of Logan.
Logan.
No. Cheese.
Cheese. Can you say big brother?
Big boy.
Can you say, hey, over here. Can you say little brother?
Big boy.
Can you say Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
Instructions.
It's very close. Thank you.
I'm bleeding, y'all. Oh, there it is. Bleeding.